angiograms. And these angiograms will be showing you some degree of disease reversal. They were all reviewed in triplicate in the angiography core laboratory of the Cleveland Clinic by senior technicians who do this all day long for national medical trials. So that when I give you a certain percentage of reversal, I'll know that it's accurate. This first happened to be the left anterior descending coronary artery in a 67-year-old pediatrician. And the improvement here is on the right, where you can see that it is wider by a small amount than it is on the left. It's a little easier to see in this next one, where we're now looking at the circumflex coronary artery in a 58-year-old factory worker. And this improvement from the left to the right was described as 20%. This next happens to be the right coronary artery in a 54-year-old retired security guard. And this, again, shows improvement from the left to the right of 30%. Now, on the other hand, this happens to be the gentleman who was in the first chapter of my book. This is a colleague, Joe Crow. Joe replaced me as the chairman of the breast cancer task force at the Cleveland Clinic. It was in 1996, with a cholesterol of 156, not a smoker, regularly exercised, no family history, not hypertensive, not diabetic, that Joe began getting chest pain. In the summer of '96, he saw cardiology in October. They worked him up, could find nothing wrong. The third week in November, he finished his surgical schedule and he sat down to write postoperative orders. He got suddenly this splitting headache, immediately followed by this crushing chest pain, with pain in his left shoulder and arm. He was having a heart attack. He was whipped down to the cath lab. And at that time, the entire lower 1/3 of his left anterior descending coronary artery was moth-eaten and diseased over too long a segment to permit the use of stents, and it was too far down the artery to allow for bypass. So Joe was very depressed about this. And 2 weeks after his heart attack, my wife and I had Joe and his wife out for supper. And I simply said, Joe, look, you've been eating this horrible Western diet. You've got the typical Western disease. Why don't you think about going plant-based? We've got 10 years of data. And he said, okay, yes, I'll give it a shot. They couldn't offer me anything else, but I'm not going to take any of those statin drugs. I simply don't trust them. I hear there are too many side effects. I said, fine, that's your call, no problem. He became the absolute personification of commitment to plant-based nutrition over the next 2.5 years. At the end of 2.5 years, up in the surgical office area where our doors are 3 doors apart, I found myself at noontime of the day that I knew that earlier that morning Joe had had his follow-up angiogram. I walked over to the office and let myself in. There he was sitting behind his desk. And I simply said, Joe, how did the angiogram go? And he walked over and gave me a hug and said, I think we're doing okay. I said, well, any chance that I could see the follow-up angiogram? And he said, yeah. So it was really quite dramatic. And occasionally when the plaque seems to be young, when the plaque is made up largely of fat, inflammation, and cholesterol, the body can do a rather remarkable job of restoring and remodeling. And although this is the type of reversal that is kind of jazzy and dramatic, I really want to spend some time when we get to it on other types of reversal because it's so key to people understanding how this can be effective. Now, what we're looking at here is a PET rubidium dipyridamole scan of the heart. Translation, as you can see on the